Hi there, welcome once again, and this is the time for learning drop shadow in Adobe Photoshop. Actually, if you apply drop shadow in your image with the object, then the image will be looks more professional and believable. If you were using an image for e-commerce, then adding drop shadow is highly recommended because the drop shadow enable images are having more sale than others. So let's take a look how drop shadow really working, and you can take a look. This is an image from our exercise file, and this is an image of apple, and we want to apply a drop shadow for this image. So how it will look like once you will apply the drop shadow. So let me turn on this layer, and here is the drop shadow we have added to this apple, and now it looks more professional and believable. Okay, so let's take a look at how you will apply the drop shadow in image in Adobe Photoshop. So let's take a look. So at first we have to open our exercise file, and therefore we have to click the file menu. So here is the file menu, and here is the open option. So let me click on this open option. Okay, inside our exercise file you will get this shadow folder, so you just have to open it, and inside the shadow folder you will get this shadow image. So you just have to select this shadow image, and then you have to click open. So let me click open. Okay, this is our image, and you can take a look. This is an image of apple, and we are going to add a drop shadow for this apple. So at first we have to duplicate this background layer. So this is the background layer, and we have to duplicate this layer. And to duplicate, you just have to right click with your mouse on this background layer, then you will get this duplicate layer option. So let me click over here, and this is the pop-up for duplicating the layer, and you have to type some name. So let me write a shadow for our new duplicated layer, and let me click OK. So we have the shadow layer in here, and right now we have to make a selection for this apple, and then we will add a layer mask, and then we will add a drop shadow. Okay, so how you will make a selection? And right now we are not going to use the lasso tool. Right now we are going to use quick selection tool for making a selection. So where is the quick selection tool? You will get the quick selection tool inside the object selection tool. So this is the object selection tool. You just have to right click with your mouse, and then you will get this quick selection tool. So let me click on this quick selection tool. Okay, so this is the quick selection tool, and before starting selection, let me tell you something, that here is the two form, that is add form and subtract form. So this add form or plus sign add form is using for making the selection, and if you have any extra selection area, then if you want to reduce or deduct the extra selected area, then you have to use the subtract form. So as we will make a selection, therefore we have to use the add selection form. Okay, so let's start the selection, and you can take a look. The brush size seems quite smaller, and I want to increase the brush size, and therefore we have to go for the brush option in here. So let me click over here, and let me increase the brush size. Right now I have 25 pixel, and I want to go for 52 pixel. Okay, now I have the bigger brush, and right now I have the perfect selection of entire apple. Okay, so selection is done, and right now we have to add a layer mask. To add a layer mask, you just have to click this option, and this is the option for adding layer mask. So let me click on this layer mask option, and you can take a look. We have a layer mask in here, and that means we already added a layer mask in this shadow image. So we have the layer mask in our apple or shadow layer, but if you want to compare with the layer mask and background, then you will have the clear concept, that is what is layer mask. Let me turn off the background layer, and you can take a look. The background is removed, only we have the apple. We only have the apple because we make a selection with the quick selection tool, and then we added a layer mask for this apple, and that's why we only have the apple and we don't have the background. So let me turn on the background layer. Okay, so please make sure this layer mask is selected, and now we will apply the drop shadow. To apply drop shadow, you have to click on this FX option in here. So let me click on FX option, and from there we have to go for drop shadow. So let me click on this drop shadow. So this is the pop-up for layer style, and this is the settings of drop shadow. So at first we have to work with the distance. So let me increase the distance. If you increase the distance, then you can have the look of drop shadow in apple. So let me increase the distance, and you can take a look. We are having a drop shadow in our apple. So I want to go for 40 pixel for distance, and I want to increase the percentage of spread. So let me increase the spread percentage. Okay, and this is the size of a shadow. So let me increase the size of shadow, and you can take a look. We have the bigger in size, and the size of shadow depend on your needs. So I want to go for 60 pixel. Okay, cool. We have the drop shadow right now, but you can take a look. We have a very hard drop shadow, and we don't want to use this hard drop shadow, and therefore we want to reduce the opacity. To reduce the opacity, you just have to reduce the opacity from here. Right now we have 100% opacity, and if you reduce the opacity, then the opacity of shadow will be reduced. Okay, so let's go for 51%, and we have the perfect drop shadow right now. But you can take a look, the position of drop shadow placed in left side of this apple. But if you want to place this drop shadow at bottom of this apple, then you can do that easily. So therefore you just have to use this angle wheel. Right now we have a 0 degree, and to place this drop shadow at bottom, you have to move this wheel, and we can place 90 degree. Okay, so we have the perfect drop shadow right now. And if you want to increase the distance of this drop shadow from the apple, then you can increase the distance from here. Okay, so right now I have 191 pixel and the drop shadow placed over here, but it's not really seems good. So let's reduce the distance. Okay, 55 pixel is really good. Okay, so you can take a look. We have a perfect drop shadow in this image, and let me click OK. So you can take a look. We have a drop shadow over here, but if you want to disappear this drop shadow, you just have to turn off this drop shadow layer. So let me click over here. Okay, drop shadow gone, drop shadow on. Okay, so it's quite simple, and I'm pretty sure you enjoyed this tutorial. And let's take a look on next lesson.